Welcome to tonight's edition of Under the Bleachers. We are going to recap the 2026 Reese's Senior Bowl practice weeks. Chris Ransom, William Yanish here. You'll get more breakdowns on Saturday on Giraffutopia, of course, but I think this Senior Bowl has been very entertaining, very informal, very fun. We'll start with the QBs. I think the obvious is everyone is talking about Luke Altmaier. Altmaier had a decent week, but I felt like the two
I like
standouts in
Altmaier.
this group were Diego Pavia and Garrett Nussmeier, which is not a surprise because that's what we said would happen. We said those would be the two standouts leading up to this on Saturday last week, and here we are. And those two have continued to deliver.
Yes, indeed. I was watching some of those throws from Nussmeier earlier, and Altmaier as well. You know, I've definitely had a been intrigued by Altmaier. You know, and seeing how he would come along this year. But I mean, I still have Nussmeier rated a little bit higher. I'm not so sure about Pavia. I mean, I I'm not really worried about things with Pavia, but he's showing some of that kind of anger towards whatever he's doing, like Matt Corral a few years ago when he was playing football. Like watching him play for Ole Miss and seeing him go out there, and it looked like heart, but it was just a little bit too much. It was like, what is this guy mad at? You know, and Pavia, obviously, he's mad at a few things. Not being not getting that Heisman Trophy is one of them. But he's still got to go out there and keep his cool. I mean, he's had a great tight end in Eli Stars. Being able to throw to him and everything else. But of course, this is a guy that's also like 5'9". That's not much bigger than Bryce Young. But he's still got.
Technically, he's smaller than Bryce Young, according to the weigh-ins. But if you want to dispute the legitimacy of the weigh-ins, that's understandable.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, the one thing I really
think
started
that's
getting
the
onto
best
these.
way to put it, or the most politically correct way to put it. With Bryce
Politically
Young's
correct,
height.
yes. Well, he's got the body of a 14-year-old boy. It's like, man, I was that big when I was 14. I was chucking a football 60
like
yards.
I've told the Bryce Young. I've read the tweet about Bryce Young being a Fisher Price toy. Everybody's gotten a laugh out of it. You, Joey, even Emmanuel over at Sportshead Radio. Everyone's gotten a laugh out of that.
Yeah, sad days. Oh, what do we got here? My computer just died on me.
All right.
Oh, no.
What was the next position at the Senior Bowl? I'm going to try to get running backs. I'll look at the running backs here. Altmaier and Sawyer Robertson were decent. Like, Altmaier and Sawyer Robertson really did have respectable days. The running back group, I don't know if there was. I would say the Penn State running backs were the standouts of this group. Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. Those two are probably the two standouts of this group, but this was a less than impressive group. Le'Veon Moss is a player I may end up adding to the simulator. He didn't do the weigh-in at the Senior Bowl, but he's a guy we're going to put in round 4 along with Singleton. So, Katron Allen, I do like Katron Allen. I've got a second-round grade on Katron Allen. He had a fantastic day. So, nice. I think I've got him at 64 on the simulator currently because he's the highest-rated player. The final player, I think, with a 92 for potential, or 92 or 93. I think it's 92. And we have him at 64 on the simulator. So if the Patriots were to draft him as a backup to Henderson, and they could trade Stevenson for like a 3rd-round pick. But I don't think they're going to trade Stevenson now because he's been great holding onto the ball, not fumbling it.
he's definitely been, great in relief of Henderson.
He's
Not counting his 4.68 speed, whatever he's got.
yeah.
But
Yeah. So
it would definitely be nice, for them not to rely on him because he has kind of a big contract too to be trading around. So might be
yeah.
one of those things where they just might need to release
But
him if
this is
they.
the thing. Ramondre Stevenson has been the bell cow during the playoffs. He was the bell cow in the early part of the season. Then they made Henderson the bell cow for a few weeks. And then after the game against the Bills, they went back to Stevenson being the bell cow. But they did the same. The Titans did the same thing with Derrick Henry in his rookie year when DeMarco Murray was on the Titans. Because DeMarco Murray was on the Titans during Derrick Henry's rookie year. So they made DeMarco Murray the bell cow and they eased Henry. And so Vrabel's doing the same thing
Yep.
before feeding Henry the ball. But yeah, receivers. I think the most impressive receiver from Mobile, there's a few that I really like. I'd say the standout among this group is Malachi Fields. He's the only receiver of this group to crack the top 100. But I also am impressed. I also came away impressed with Josh Cameron of Baylor. I came away impressed with Ted Hurst of Georgia State, and I also came away impressed with Kevin Coleman of Missouri. So
Yeah. I was watching a little bit of reruns and stuff what they had on YouTube, and somehow I got onto name slips my tongue. Oh, Jacoby Lane out of USC, and man, like 6'4", like 215. I mean, this guy's got bend and flex like Brandon Lloyd, and I mean he lives in the contested catch thing. I'd like to see him get a little bit more
only 190
separation and stuff.
Senior Bowl weigh-in, but he has 10 and 3/8 inch hands, so he has big hands.
Yeah.
Fields only has 8 3/4 for hand size, but I think I love his size, and there's
For sure.
4 receivers, and William threw in an honorable mention. So that should just tell you how strong this receiver draft is. This receiver draft, I think, is better than last year's group. And I didn't like last year's group initially, but I came around to it. And I think this group is better because it's got more size, more bodies versus last year. Because last year was basically a slot receiver draft after the first round with a lot of 5'11" speedy guys. This draft is more of a size draft. So while you may get a Z receiver in terms of NFL ability, you are going to get a guy who can be an X or a Y on the outside as well.
Oh, for sure. That's one thing where I haven't decided, where Lane fits in everything. I'm kind of thinking maybe he fits as a wide receiver too, to a real speedy guy that can take the top off of defense, kind of in that room. But it's definitely a pick your poison type of draft with the receivers.
I agree. I mean, I mentioned Ty Montgomery and John Carroll's another guy, but I mentioned Cameron. I mentioned Cyrus. I mentioned Cameron. I mentioned Hurst, Coleman, and Fields. And then you throw in other guys like Jacoby Lane, and you throw in Jacoby Lane. You throw in Ty Montgomery from John Carroll, and you throw in the Texas Tech receivers. Two Texas Tech receivers, Douglas and Virgil, both had good days. Oh, and Colin Lacey's at this Shrine Bowl as well. So, yeah, we'll get to the tight ends. This tight end group, I think there's 2 standouts. Justin Jolly and Tanner Kozoil, my tight end 3 and tight end 4. Outside of that group, it's been a less than stellar group.
I think the depth is still there because Max Clare being the 4th or 5th option at Ohio State. That's generally how they run their tight ends. I really saw that he didn't impress so much this year at Ohio State, but watching his career early, at Purdue, dude is just like a ghost. He's the guy that taught me how to hit rewind on the film to try to figure out where the hell he came from on a few of those
Yeah.
routes, and but other than
I
that,
5 tight ends in the top 100. Sadiq, Eli, Stowers, Justin Jolly, Kozoil, the 2 from the Senior Bowl, and then Claire would be my tight end 5. But his backup, Will Cameron, was at the Senior Bowl instead of Claire. So I think the Senior Bowl kind of screwed that one up. But hey, I do like those 5 tight ends in the top 100. But after those 5, it does feel like there's a drop off in the draft. The guy that impressed me the most outside of those 5 tight ends is probably John Michael Gillenborg, the Wyoming Cowboys tight end. But I'm looking at my list here to see who else I have.
I'm still like neck deep in film, so I still have to look Justin Jolly over and a few of them, and somebody, Kenyon Sadiq. There is going to be somebody who sees the blocking ability that this guy has, which makes his floor just that much higher, and he still has things to work on, with routes and everything else, just like I've said before. But somebody is going to take him early, and he's going to get on the field early and often.
Yep.
Kozoil is a huge target. He's like 6'7", something like that, and he makes everything look easy,
Yeah.
And Stowers, he, like I've said 1,000 times, he's a little bit light in the ass. He'd be more suited for that flex role. But other than that, this is going to be one of those drafts where some tight ends come out of nowhere, some receivers come out of nowhere, and it's just one of those things. There's been plenty of stuff, and watching everything for the. You realize I'm on air?
Yeah.
Anyway, pardon me, guys. I just had to tell my mom that. But
No
other than that, we're good.
the
This class
group
is good, man.
This tackle group, Jennings Dunker, he's 34th on the simulator. He is at the Senior Bowl. Markel Bell, the Miami left tackle, I moved him into the top 50. He was at the Senior Bowl. I don't think he's as good as Maui Goa, but I did put Markel Bell, the Miami left tackle. Trey Zune, another guy from Texas A&M. So those are the 3 that stand out to me. All really good college tackles, and JC Davis is a guy I've got a 3rd round grade on. So overall, Cage Casey, another guy in my top 50. Overall, it's a pretty strong offensive tackle group.
Yeah, it definitely truly is. I mean,
I know Joey's not as high on this tackle group, but there's a reason I had like 10 or 11 tackles in my top 50. And I don't know if there's that many teams in demand for a tackle, because I think we had 20 different we had 19 or 20 different left tackles win player of the game on Draft Utopia this year. And Trent Williams wasn't one of those. And you could argue he's better than some of the guys on that list in terms of overall ability. So, that's 21, 22 quality tackles that are going to keep their jobs, 23 if we count the Chargers. So really, there's only going to be like 8 or 9 teams that need a left tackle this year, but it's such a good tackle draft. So who's going to end up benefiting from that? That's the big thing I'm looking at. The guards, I have a 4th on Rutledge, the Georgia Tech guard, but I have Bo Stevens in round 2, the Iowa left guard. I've also got Emmanuel Pregnant. I guess he withdrew from the Senior Bowl because his draft grade was really high. But yeah, I do. Sam, I would say Bo Stevens, and the best center among this group is probably Jake Slaughter out of Florida. Preseason, he was my number 1 center. I moved him down to center 2 behind Logan Jones, but I believe Logan Jones, Slaughter, and Pat Coogan are all going to go in the top 50 of this draft. So that's the offense for you. Anything you want to add before we get to defense?
I think you got it all there, man.
Edge rushers, I like TJ Parker's a first round guy for me. I really like Gabe Jacasa of Illinois. I've got a third on him. Derek Moore out of Michigan dominated the first 2 days of the Senior Bowl, 10 sacks at Michigan last year. Derek Moore is my target for I told you Derek Moore is my target for the Patriots at 32, assuming
I like that.
Super Bowl. And whenever I tell Williams something like that, that means he's probably not going to be there for me at 32. Someone else is probably going to pick him in the group mock whenever we do that in a few weeks. Because when I give Williams a little note like that, he will use it against me sometimes. Not always, but sometimes.
Oh, that's been my entire life, man. I want this guy right here, and then he goes like the pick or two before. It's like, oh, come on, man. It's like, can I just see if my team was going to draft him, you know?
Yep. Donnie Dennis Sutton, I do have a third round grade on. Logan Fano's the younger brother of Spencer Fano. I don't know where I have him in my rankings yet, but I thought he was going to end up going back and being a part of the 2027 draft. So that will be interesting. And then the defensive tackles, Tim Keenan the third's a guy I have a early third round grade on, but he's my DT3. Caleb Banks out of Florida is a guy that we're going to put in the fourth round of the simulator somewhere. Don't know where yet. Grayson Holton, we have a third on him. Lee Hunter, just added him to the simulator. He dominated at Mobile this week to the point where some are moving him into the first round now. So Lee Hunter's definitely a guy to watch. And then that's the defensive tackles. It's like Lee Hunter was so dominant this week in Mobile, I had to move him ahead of Corleone in the draft simulator. And I hated doing that, but, he earned it.
I ain't going to argue with you over that, man. I do like Corleone, but I mean.
Like Corleone, but some of the reps we watched, the Shrine Bowl, were not as spectacular as we like. And on the flip side, Lee Hunter dominated at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, for sure.
Linebackers, we've got two. We got Jacob Rodriguez, who was the highest player on the simulator, 6th overall. We've got Kyle Lewis, Pitt linebacker, preseason top 10 player, actually the player in the thumbnail for Saturday's podcast out of Pittsburgh. Kyle Lewis had a fantastic week. I had this guy going to the Seahawks 9th overall in the mock I made in the summer. He could be a candidate for Seattle at 95. 5'11", 224. Some are saying he's going to move to the secondary, but he's great in coverage. I gave him an A+ in man and zone coverage. He's an edge rusher out of Pitt, but I gave him an A+ in man and zone coverage. I think he can press as well. But yeah, he's great against the run. He can blitz. He can sack the quarterback. He can do it all. Kyle Lewis, I know he's 5'11", 224, and I know that size scares some teams and makes some teams want to convert him to safety. But I think he's an edge rusher for a 34 team like Seattle, maybe New England. And he's a guy who can get in the third round and get really good value there. Bryce Bottinger, the Oregon linebacker, was the player Joey loved this week. I've got Botcher I'm probably going to put Botcher at 101 in the simulator because I wanted to put him in the top 100, but Jacksonville's got pick 100. And if Jacksonville has to choose between Corleone or Botcher, they're probably going to go D tackle in that scenario because they've got Devin Lloyd at middle linebacker. So there's no point in them drafting their middle linebacker when they can just extend Devin Lloyd.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Devin
Lloyd, I definitely agree with that.
Jack Ellis, BYU, I have in the third round. So there's a lot of players I do like among this group.
I got stuck watching highlights and such, just film reels of Whit Weeks from LSU, and that dude, man.
I think he went back to LSU. I wanted to put Whit Weeks in the simulator, but I think he went back to LSU.
Well, that just chaps me a little bit because there in San Fran we kind of need one of those guys, but. He was reminding me, he was like Danny Stutzman to me last year. Just a player that absolutely like intrigued me on film to the point it's like I want that guy, and then he goes 2 picks in front of you. But
Yep. Corners, Chandler Rivers out of Duke, I have a 3rd-round grade on. Dalen Everett out of Georgia. That's a guy I almost put in the 3rd round of the simulator, but he's one of the guys we're probably going to have off the board very early when we get to the 100s. Davidson Igbinosun, the Ohio State corner, I have him in the 3rd round of the simulator. Chris Johnson, I have in the early 2nd round, but Johnson is a dark horse to move into the 1st round like Quinion Mitchell a few years ago. I know a lot of hype's been built around Colton Hood, but I don't even have Colton Hood in the first 4 rounds. I earliest I would mock him is round 5. Malik Muhammad out of Texas, I have in the 2nd round. So, we'll see. This is a decent cornerback group, but I don't think it's as spectacular as last year's group. And you can make the argument that 2027 has the potential to be better with Leonard Moore, Notre Dame, OJ Frederique, Miami, Zabian Brown out of Alabama. The top 3 corners in the 2027 draft look better than this group, in my opinion, right now. So I don't think it's a weak group. It's a deep cornerback group, but I don't think it's a spectacular group either.
Yeah, that does make a difference. I mean,
so is that going to drive down the value of the position this year? Or a team's going to look at it and say, this draft's more of a cornerback 2 draft. Next year's more of a cornerback 1 draft.
I could definitely see that. I mean, I haven't seen any that absolutely stood out. But then, it's like that kid we drafted from for San Fran last year. I mean, he's had a reel of catches, or not catches, but film that'll make you, make that star quality.
Most of the players that we have a 90 or potential on or higher are guys that have potential to develop into Pro Bowlers. But I'm got to see if there's any FCS guys that fit that category, because most of the players in our grading system are FBS players. So I'm going to talk to someone who knows FCS football. Maybe we can try to get them on under the bleachers. But yeah, I'm going to look at the safety group, and then I'm going to look at the special teams. I mean, the kickers, my favorite kicker in the draft was the Hawaii kicker. But yeah, I didn't see him on the, I think Brett Thorson, my top punter, was at the Senior Bowl. But that's it for special teams. Looking at the safeties right now, I like Bud Clark out of TCU. I know I've got him in the 4th round, but I think Bud Clark is one of these guys that will probably come off the board very early. Michael Taffe out of Texas, I have a 2nd on. But outside of Taffe and Bud Clark, there were really no standouts at the safety group in this Senior Bowl, unfortunately.
Yeah, that kind of seems like the tale of the week,
draft.
Yeah,
because you got Caleb Downs, you got Thieneman, you got McNeil Warren, who I think are all good enough to go in the top 32. You've got Taffe, who I've got a 2nd round grade on. But after that, you have Bud Clark, and then there's sort of a drop off at the position this year. From what I've seen.
For sure. And every once in a while, there's a player that comes out of TCU that surprises everyone.
Everyone thought last year's safety group was bad, but this draft is more of a top-heavy safety draft while last year's safety draft was very deep. That's my initial impression.
Yeah. Well, my initial impression of the top, Caleb Downs and Thieneman out of Oregon, and a couple of those guys, and it looks, definitely top-heavy, but those players are, Caleb Downs is going to be picked higher than probably any safety ever, and I mean, Thieneman's not far behind those few, not far behind, like you mentioned, but Bud Clark, all them. But, just this year alone, it's going to be that at the top of the draft, when it comes to these players like this. I mean, Downs has been a standout since he came into college football, and it's just one of those things. We all knew he was going to be drafted real high, being Josh Downs' little brother, everything else, But I mean, he's definitely might be a better safety than Downs as a receiver. Downs just hasn't finally started catching up this year, and then Danny Dimes goes out, and that kind of hurt him a little bit. I mean, but those guys just have speed like none other, and that's one of those things that I've been watching with my Niners team is, that's one of the
Everyone
things
with
that
the
we see
Super Bowl
missing.
talking about the points per game margin. No, Seattle's got the best points per game margin on defense. Points per game margin on defense doesn't matter. What matters is how many points you allow. New England's had allowed 26 points in 3 games. Seattle has not allowed close to that. They gave up 6 to San Francisco, and they gave up 27 to the Rams in 2 games. The Rams are – I know the Rams' offense averaged 30.8 points per game, but I think New England would have held the Rams to 14 to 17 points. I think the Patriots would have held the Rams to under 20 points. That should tell you everything about Seattle because their offense couldn't score as much as the Rams. And they're very reliant on defensive scores, fumble recoveries for 6, pick sixes, and special teams touchdowns. You take that away from the Seahawks, you can cut their points per game total in half. You take away the turnovers and you play turnover-free ball, and you don't allow any special teams touchdowns. That cuts their point margin in half.
Yeah,
at the bare minimum.
Certainly does. It certainly does, man. And the way Drake May's been playing this year is just one of those things, you know.
My score is going to shock a lot of people, but I actually have New England by double digits at the moment. My current projected score, because everyone's betting the over. The over-under is 45.5. My current projected score is 28-17 New England. I have New England by 11.
I like that.
I don't think I've ever picked a Super Bowl winner by double digits. So that should tell you. And I'm 8-2 in Super Bowls the last decade. The only team to hand me an L, the Eagles in Super Bowl 52 and the Eagles in Super Bowl 59. Those are the only 2 teams to hand me an L this decade. One team, Howie Roseman's Eagles, only team to hand me an L this decade.
That's not a bad record, man.
The last 10 from Super Bowl 49 to 59. Yeah, that could change with a new decade, but I just don't think JSN or Nakua would have got – because Christian Gonzalez is a strong silent type, and that is so lethal. From a mental standpoint, that is so lethal to be the strong silent type. And no offense to JSN, I know he's had a historically great season, so has Puka Nakua. And I do respect the fact that JSN is more humble than Nakua. Nakua he screams like a caveman. He thinks that's confident, but it's actually cockiness disguised as confidence. Sometimes cockiness disguised as arrogance, but it's like that's not confidence, bro. JSN has more of that intuitive internal self-confidence versus Nakua, and he's been the best receiver in the league this year, but I just think Gonzalez is going to lock him down. He's going to clamp him the entire game. They're not going to call any penalties against him. Even when Gonzalez presses JSN, they're not going to call any penalties against him, even when he holds him, and I think that's how the Patriots are going to end up winning, because he's going to hold him the entire game, and I don't think they're going to call any penalties on him.
Well, it was like watching Drake May, in the last game, and just seeing him, it's like just do it yourself. And he has gotten to that point where he understands, that some things he has to do himself.
And the other thing I'm looking at is none of the teams, Seattle does not have a sack artist on their defense. The Chargers had Tui Pelotu 10 sacks, and they had Khalil Mack. The Texans had 2 guys with 10 sacks, Hunter and Will Anderson. The Broncos had Bonito, who had 10 sacks, and they had Jonathan Cooper, who was going up against left tackles. And the Patriots held Bonito in check with Will Campbell. Seattle does not have a player on their defense with 10 sacks. They do have a great secondary, but it's not as good as New England's cornerback 10. You could argue the Seattle is the better safeties, fine. But New England's got the better cornerback tandem, number one. And number two, I just, not only do the Patriots have the better cornerback tandem, it's just, I just feel like Seattle not having a guy with 10 sacks, that's going to come back to bite them in the ass at some point. Whether it's the Super Bowl, that's going to come back to bite them in the rear end at some point. And I feel like both Seattle, New England's front sevens are built the same way, where they're both overly reliant on the interior defensive line in order to get to the QB versus the edge rushers.
Well, it's great that they've come together as a team, but where is the star power? Where is where is that guy that's the absolute monster?
Ghosts again at some point. Seattle was 31st in turnovers and 32nd in points. 31st in points scored on offense in the regular season, 32nd in turnovers, but was able to make up for it with the number one scoring defense. If you keep Seattle from getting turnovers, the scoring defense becomes obsolete. If you don't allow them to get a punt return or a kick return for a touchdown like your Niners did, the special teams becomes obsolete. And then Darnold's asked to carry the team if they're down by 7 or 14.
Yeah, and I think we both seen that.
Yeah, Darnold will crumble if he has to carry the team. That's what I'm saying, William.
Yeah, and May has proved that he can carry a team, and that's the difference right there.
Exactly.
I mean, whether it be me or whether it be anybody else, I mean, what it takes to get there. Seattle, they're gonna need to get themselves a rush defensive end, or they're what 3-4.
Both teams are 34, but
yeah.
Patriots have Harold Landry. He came close to 10 sacks at edge rusher, and they've got an excellent interior with Barmore and Milton Williams. That scares me a lot more than what the Seahawks have, because I don't see a guy who has 10 sacks on Seattle. I think both Uchenna Nwosu and DeMarcus Lawrence had 7.5 sacks each. That's the high. Yeah, there were other.
It does make a difference, man.
That had a lot of pressures, but I don't think they're going to be as impactful considering how stout the interior offensive line's been outside of Jared Wilson. The center and right guard for New England have been very good these playoffs. So I don't think that's going to matter as much. But we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, right now we've got 3 people picking New England. You, me, and Andrew. We've got 3 people picking Seattle, Wes Orr and Tony Mario. And we've got 3 people undecided: Joey Porter, Daniel Keyser, Joey Potter, Tracy Porter, Daniel Keyser. We've got 3 undecided. Those 3 will probably pick next week. But that's where we're at with the Super Bowl. 3 people on Seattle, 3 people on New England, 3 people undecided. And it's probably going to either end up being a 5-4 split decision for Seattle or a 5-4 split decision for New England. I don't see it being a 6-3 scenario where 6 people. I think it's going to be a split decision. I don't know what direction we're leaning in, but we've got a week to figure that out. I just want to focus on the Senior Bowl and have fun this week.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, man, there were some players popping between Derek Moore, watching him. I mean, that dude is something else. And like I said, I got caught up watching 2 hours worth of film of Jacoby Lane, but that wasn't necessarily a bad thing, and I definitely like seeing that, even though, so many of these are to where it's not so great. The tight end class is not going to be as great as it was last year. There's still some tight ends in there, and obviously some of the that are going to get on the field, often, early and often, like I mentioned with Sadiq, and whoever drafts Max Clare. I mean, that guy is just a long, tall ghost, man, and yeah, I definitely like him. But, you know,
Oh, we do have breaking news. The Rams have signed Bubba Ventrone, the Browns special teams coordinator that Joey wanted to launch into a catapult as their new special teams coordinator.
hmm, good stuff. Good stuff. But yeah, man. Like I said, I'm definitely going to spend about the next week, watching film from these guys here, and
Yeah, because we've
it's
got
going
the
to be a good
simulator up
thing.
to 100 players. I'm not going to
Good
post
deal.
a link to that. We can go through the top
Soon.
30 on Saturday if you guys want us to. But yeah, we're gonna go over the Senior Bowl, get Joey's thoughts on some of the players at the Senior Bowl, and then maybe probably dive into the top 30. Because I know William wants to make a first round pick for San Francisco so freaking badly, and who am I to deny him that? So
I was
wait,
drafted for the Giants last year.
wait, wait, wait. So 49ers picked
Oh,
at 27. So if Joey's picking for the Browns at 6, that means well, Joey will give William the Niners pick. I'm sure he's passionate enough. We could swap picks.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll figure that out Saturday. We're not going to figure out all the details right now. We've got the thumbnail up for Saturday. That's really all we need to get up right now. And
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna make sure this is turned on. Make sure everything's working good. All right, what else should we add before we sign off?
Well, I mean, I was talking to Cadre Ismail earlier. Hopefully he comes on the show, but we'll see about that.
And a lot of people
I'm
are
trying my bestest for
forgetting
you guys out there.
Christian Gonzalez. Yeah, Christian Gonzalez, he shut down JSN in college when Oregon beat Ohio State. A lot of people are forgetting that from history. And yes, Seattle, JSN, I think he had 11 receptions, 105 yards, 0 touchdowns in the win over New England last year with Gonzalez locking him down. So Gonzalez may not have been back. Well, I don't know if he was or wasn't. It was a week 2 game. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Gronkowski's incorrectly picked the last 3 Super Bowl winners, but he is going with the Patriots.
No. Well, I guess you have to at this point. I mean, I just figure that the AFC has been stronger than the NFC for a minute. When I was growing up, it was all NFC. It was all Giants, Redskins, Niners,
49ers, Bears.
Cowboys. Yeah,
Yep.
the Bears. It was all that good stuff, and but now the AFC's got all that going on,
Yep.
when there's not so many injuries to the quarterbacks and stuff. That's what I was talking to Ismail about was the injuries, and he's blaming it on the kinetics of it, and it's kind of interesting to see. And it's like, okay, I can kind of understand that, if the speed of the game, is improving like it is. And anyway, it's an interesting conversation. Hopefully, we'll have that conversation for you guys shortly. I'm trying my bestest for you guys, but we'll see.
Yeah, here's Will Campbell took a picture with Gronkowski, Edelman, and I don't know, Matt Light, Tom Brady's left tackle, earlier today. So that should be good luck for Will Campbell. I mean, we'll see. If Will Campbell's getting a photo with those Super Bowl champions, that definitely bodes well for the Patriots.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. I think it just comes down to the fact that the Patriots have the better quarterback and the better defense.
I think they do have the better quarterback. Sam Darnold wasn't even player of the game during the regular season. He was the only player of the game once, and that was in the NFC Championship. Drake May's been player of the game 7 times in Draft Utopia this year. That's the most among quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford was only player of the game 5 times. Had the Rams won, Stafford would have been 6. He would have, but he tied Trevor Lawrence in terms of regular season performances. But at least he got the Rams the NFC title. I'll give him some slack, but yeah. And I think if Stafford wins MVP, Drake May's going to have a bigger chip on his shoulder, and that's going to be the difference.
And it should be, considering the supporting cast that Stafford has compared to the supporting cast that May has. It's like name one receiver that May has outside of Diggs.
Yeah, he has Diggs, and he's got Hunter Henry at tight end. He's got Kayshon Boutte. who's been big at times this year. He's got Demario
Yeah.
Douglas, bunch of guys on rookie receivers, but they'd be role players on any of their team. May has elevated them.
Yeah.
Same, Stroud elevated the Texans during his rookie year.
Yeah. And it's just going to come down to that, and seeing what he can do. I mean, if he has to take the team put on his shoulders, I can see him doing that. I can see Darnold doing that, but May's just a better quarterback.
Right
nothing
now,
against
one of
nothing
the
against
prospects for the Super Bowl. Will there be a roughing the passer penalty called in the game? -150, no. +130, yes.
yes.
-150, not +130. That is a great. I would get in on that because minus. You're telling me there won't be a roughing the passer penalty called on one of these quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. I think there will be. I think if they hit,
I think there will be.
They're going to call a roughing the passer penalty, and Seahawks fans are going to argue it's a bullshit call, and that's how the Patriots are going to win.
That's typical Seattle fans. I've been putting up with them forever, man.
But that's what I think is going
else.
to happen. I think someone's going to get pressure on May, and they're going to call it roughing the passer, and it's going to end up costing Seattle the game. And the Seahawks fans are going to say it wasn't roughing the passer. That's a bullshit call. And that's what we're going to hear all offseason from Seahawks fans. You've heard it for years, but yeah, that definitely sounds like what we're going to get.
Oh, for sure, man.
Because why is no the betting favorite for roughing the passer penalty? It's +130 and -150. So it's close, but no for roughing the passer is the favorite. And I can't comprehend that because I think there will be a roughing the passer penalty in this game.
Yeah.
The refs have been too quiet these playoffs, and this is where they're going to unload the dog shit, as DiCaprio says in The Wolf of Wall Street. This is where, because the favorite has won every game these playoffs. The last time an underdog won in these playoffs, the only time an underdog won in these playoffs was when the Niners beat the Eagles. So if you bet on the favorite, you have been giving the sports books in Vegas the middle finger, quite figuratively and quite literally. And that probably makes them very angry. So if the Patriots win and 90%, 75 to 90% are betting on Seattle to cover, this is the game where the sports books get to give you the finger and get their money back because it's the biggest game of the year. Like, guys, even if Seattle wins, the Patriots are going to cover. This could not be more obvious. I mean,
well, the Seahawks just have to thank us Niners for taking what was left of our bandage team and, taking out their competition, the reigning champions, Philadelphia Eagles.
75% are betting on the Seahawks to cover. 90% are betting on them to win straight up. I mean, that screams, let's make sure the Patriots win so we can get our money back because the Las Vegas sportsbooks, have not won a bet since the wild card round when San Francisco went into Philly and made William a very happy man. That's the only other instance where an underdog won in these playoffs. That is going to change at a certain point. Vegas does not just keep handing out bailouts to the favorite and allowing you to take their money.
Yep.
That is not how Vegas works. And if you think that's how Vegas sportsbooks works, you are stupid. They are not going to continue to allow you to. But this is the most bet on game of the year. So and I think Drake May's better than Darnold too. So that's why I'm leaning New England. But we'll see. We still got.
I'm glad Darnold found a home, after his, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Stroll through the different teams. I'm glad he found himself a home, but Levi's Stadium is not it. I'll tell you that right now.
And there's only one instance where a division rival won the state Super Bowl in an opponent's stadium. It was Super Bowl 58 when the Chiefs won. And the only reason the NFL let the Chiefs do that is, one, they were seen as the darling, and two, the NFL hates the Raiders, so they don't really give a crap that the Chiefs won in their stadium. I mean, you go back to the Pete Rozelle, Al Davis days, yeah, the NFL's always hated the Raiders. They've always loved to give the Raiders the shaft. Quite literally and quite figuratively. So,
well, a few times they gave it back to the NFL, but then they got hit with it again.
Basically,
it was nice to see him win with Rich Gannon. I mean, or no, Rich Gannon got freaking smoked,
Rich
didn't he?
Gannon got smoked by Tampa in Super Bowl 30,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I remember
they
that
won with
48 to
they won
nothing.
with the former Patriot QB, the QB the Patriots drafted in the 19 Jim Plunkett. Jim
Oh,
Plunkett
there
was
you go. Yeah,
drafted by the Patriots in 1970. Arch Manning was in that draft as well. It was the
Yeah.
1970 NFL draft, but yeah.
yeah. That's when old what's his name was with the Eagles. The coach. What the hell was his name?
The
I can
only
picture his face.
when
Anyway, go ahead.
start off-season outlooks on Draft Utopia. As soon as the Raiders name a head coach, but I have a feeling Clint Kubiak's going to be the last hire. They're going to drag this thing out, and Darnold's going to fall apart next year once Kubiak leaves. That's my prediction because I'm looking at next year's. I think the NFC West is going to be a lot weaker next year. The Rams, I think, are going to decline next year because one of the Super Bowl hosts is going to miss the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be the Chargers. They're my pick to win Super Bowl 62. And with Josh Allen and Justin Herbert being the faces of SoFi, I think the Chargers and Bills are the 1 and 2 seed next year. So I think the Rams will miss the playoffs. I think the Seahawks will miss the playoffs once Kubiak goes. And that's basically leaves me with the Cardinals or Williams Niners to pick as next year's division winner. And I'm going with the Niners. They're going to host Jackson Dart in a playoff game. But I think Dart might beat you guys.
I want to see that.
We'll see.
If he has Scatabo with him. If he has Scatabo with him, he just might will, man.
If he'll have healthy Scatabo, healthy Malik Neighbors, maybe they'll draft Carnell Tate at 5, and you'll get Niners-Giants playoff game. That'll be.
Oh man,
that's
I'd love to see it.
Prediction for next year for the wild card round. I've also got Chiefs-Bengals, Patriots at AFC South winner. I think it'd be fitting if it was the Titans because it'd be their final year at Nissan Stadium and be Mike Vrabel versus former team. I think that would be very fitting from a narrative standpoint, but I could also see the Texans. And basically, right now, tentatively speaking, my 7 seed is the Browns, but it could be the Titans. It could be the Texans if the Titans win the division. It could be the Texans, and that would leave the Texans against the Chargers in LA. But I don't know who the I don't know who the 7 seed is going to be because I'm debating between the Jags, the Texans, the Browns, or the Titans, depending on what happens in the AFC South. But I think the Bills and Chargers will be 1 and 2, and I think the Bengals will be 3rd because they're the only team that kept their coach 3rd easiest strength of schedule. So the Bengals will be 3rd. That leaves the AFC South winner at 4, New England's wild card 1, Kansas City's wild card 2 with Mahomes back. And then wild card 3 could be any number of teams. It could be anyone from the AFC South. It could be the Ravens. It could be the Browns. I don't know how that's going to go. We'll see. And then the NFC, I'm thinking the Buccaneers are going to be 1. Lions are going to be 2. Eagles are going to be 3rd. That leaves the NFC West winner at 4 with the NFC West teams killing each other next year, underachieving. Williams Niners get in. The Giants are 5. The Panthers are my 6th seed, and that leaves Atlanta, Chicago, and Green Bay to duel it out for the last wild card.
Yeah, that'll definitely be interesting too.
Yeah.
What happens, the Niners definitely.
The top 5 can make the playoffs, and I would say the Titans, if they draft well, would be the 2nd best because they've got Dable as OC, and their head coach is Saleh. But if Dable gets Cam Ward to the playoffs, he'll get a head coaching job, and then Cam Ward will fall apart without him. Just watch. That's what will end up happening.
Yeah, because I've always expected big things from Dable, and it's one of those things. He's a great coordinator. He just needs to get down that head coaching role, and we'll see what happens with him.
Yep, because I think the Chargers will win Super Bowl 62. Next 5 MVPs. This year I'll go Drake May. Next year I'll go Josh Allen. 62. I'm going to go Ladd McConkey. I've got Chargers over Packers in Atlanta right now for Super Bowl 62, and I've got the Chargers winning. So instead of going with Herbert, instead of going with a cookie-cutter quarterback, I'm going to go with Ladd McConkey. He played college football at Georgia. Super Bowl 62's in Atlanta, so McConkey will be my 62 MVP. 63's in Vegas. I'm thinking Bengals Bears or Bengals Commanders. I'm going to go Joe Burrow And then 64, I'm thinking Patriots, Niners, but I don't know who will be on the Niners in 5 years from now. And that's tentative based on what happens in Super Bowl 60. If the Seahawks win, the Patriots win in 64. If the Patriots win, maybe Williams Niners get a sixth championship in 64. It depends on who's still around, because I don't know what, outside of Purdy, who's going to be on the Niners in 5 years from now. We really don't know. We don't know McCaffrey. We don't know. I don't think Kittle will be on the Niners in 5 years from now. I don't think Trent Williams will be on the Niners in 5 years from now. Bosa will still be there, but outside of Purdy and Bosa, who's going to be there, William? You don't know.
Yeah.
That's
don't know at all, man.
That's the problem, unfortunately.
Especially when we just came out of one Super Bowl window and have to enter another one. Hopefully, McCaffrey can make us.
So I think McCaffrey could be there in 5 years, but he'll probably be on his last legs if he is.
Yeah, that's one of those things, you know. I mean, they say, "Oh yeah, I've been overusing them for this and overusing them." It's like, dude, you know, I mean, that's just McCaffrey how it is. You know, that guy, you can't tell him no when he wants the ball, and that's just kind of the player he is, the winner he is, you know, and he will make some people look very foolish, very, you know, and hopefully he can get himself a ring before he hangs up those cleats, you know. I mean, other than that, like I said, you know, coming out of one Super Bowl window, headed for another, you know, definitely need to get stronger at the wide receiver position. I've been keeping an eyeball on them. Like I said, Jacoby Lane today. You know, I was watching Malachi Lemon the other day, or Makai Lemon, however you say his name.
Yeah, Makai Lemon.
Just seeing some of these players go, you know, and that's
Falcons
what I love
hired
for
Ian Cunningham, the Bears assistant GM, to be their new general manager, and they've hired Stefanski. They've poached a lot of the Browns coaching staff. I think Atlanta can be good in 3 years from now, but right now they're planning on releasing Kirk Cousins, and Penix may not be back from his ACL until December of next year. So if you cut Cousins, who's going to play quarterback if Penix is out until December? If you cut Cousins, which is why it doesn't make sense to cut Cousins until next offseason. You save more cap space. Like, what's the plan here at quarterback if Penix is out until December and you cut Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, I mean, he's a big money guy there, you know.
I'm not saying it's like keep him after next year, but if Penix is healthy in 2027 and Cousins is healthy, you cut Cousins then. You don't cut him now.
Yeah, well, what's going to happen with Penix? You know, he hasn't shown much since he came into the league, but injuries and losses, you know.
Yeah, you could argue McCarthy showed more. Now, do I think McCarthy's going to be a success? That is to be debated, but he did win player of the game twice, but they were against the Giants and the Commanders, which isn't really saying much. It's not really impressive. And
it was just like before I come on air, I was arguing with somebody over that, and it's like, no, McCarthy he's a backup. That's what he's going to be. I mean, if you put him on a loaded team, you know, maybe with the Vikings, he's going to show a little bit. Obviously, look at who's on that team: Justin Jefferson, freaking Jordan Addison, you know, TJ, what's his name, tight end, just all of them. It's one of those things, you know. I mean, it's a team that just needs a quarterback, and you know, they look like idiots for letting Darnold walk out, because he would have been just as good with the Vikings as he would have been with Seattle, you know. And just one of those things, man, you know.
Yep.
All these injuries coming up and all that. I mean, and that's all it takes is one play, man.
Yep. So what do you think's going to happen? We'll see what happens. But yeah, what's going to end up happening before we sign off? What should we talk about before we sign off? Because it's been almost an hour.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We've talked so much about the draft and talked so much about the Super Bowl.
We talked about Belichick not being in the Hall of Fame is a disgrace, but
yeah, and so is Eli Manning. It's like, what the hell is up with this, man?
I don't understand it either.
it's like the NFL is now trying to please some of the fans that are completely unpleasable, you know, with oh yeah, that Eli wasn't that great. Well, he beat the greatest of all time, twice.
There's only 3 quarterbacks with a passer rating of above 100 and 5 rushing yards per attempt in the second half, 25 pass attempts this season. The 3 are Drake May, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. That's the end of the list. So, and 2 of those quarterbacks didn't make the playoffs. So it's all set up. I think it's set up for May this year, and then next year it's only a matter of does the NFL want the Chiefs to go? Does the NFL want the Bills to go through Mahomes or Drake May if he's the defending champion in the AFC title next year? That's what they're going to end up debating, and they're probably going to put Mahomes in the divisional round, so it's May and Allen in the championship, because that would be the
May and Allen has been absolutely a pleasure to watch since May came into the league. I mean, watching those two just go toe to toe is something else. I love it.
And as much as I like the Chargers, even if they were fully healthy, I still think New England beat. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like New England would beat them in a rematch, but it'd be higher scoring game. And then, because if the Patriots get the AFC South winner and the Chargers in LA as a wild card, that's a manageable path to the AFC title if they end up playing the Bills as the 1 seed. But I think the Bills would win as the 1 seed. We'll see.
Yeah, well, what the Bills need to do is exactly what they're doing. They got rid of Sean McDermott, and then
I like the Joe Brady hire. I think that was the best hire.
Yeah, and a guy that's familiar with the team actually knows what they need, which is drafting a receiver higher than they've only drafted one higher than the 5th round lately, and that's been Keon Coleman in the 2nd. And Keon Coleman, people think that it might be garbage and everything else. He is a really bright guy, and he can definitely he can play in this league. He just has to get everything settled down. And that's one of the things that the Bills are going to be dependent upon is showing him.
All right. So I've got a good trivia question for you. The Patriots played 11 games against teams who did not return their head coach the following season. It's tied for the most by any team in history. Who's the team that tied them? You won't get this. I don't think Joey would get this. It's the 1925 Frankfurt Yellow Jackets. That was a team in 1925.
I've seen some of those teams from back then.
They're a fun franchise, but yeah.
Yeah. 11, eh? But, dude, it was like we were talking about the Seattle Seahawks schedule earlier, man. They didn't play anybody this year. They didn't play anyone.
They played the Buccaneers. Lost. They played the Rams at home, but they lost that. They played the Rams in LA. They lost that. So, yeah.
It's like, sure, the NFC West, we're playing out the AFC South this year. And, I mean, obviously the AFC South has some things they need to straighten out.
They played the NFC South as well. The Patriots played the NFC South as well. And then the Patriots also played the AFC North, which I thought was the toughest division in football. But we did play the Bengals without Burrow. We played the Ravens in Baltimore. We won that game. We played the Steelers. We lost that game, but we had 5 turnovers. And that's really the only way I see Seattle winning is if they get 5 turnovers on the Patriots.
Yeah.
Which seems to be an outlier.
And that certainly can happen, but we just don't see it that way, And I mean, like I said, the AFC is too tough. Drake May is a better quarterback. And
they played 3 defenses that had one guy with 10 sacks. Seattle does not have a guy with 10 sacks.
Yeah.
And while their secondary is great, I think that's going to be the difference ultimately in the Super Bowl. That's why we're going to see a higher offensive output in the Super Bowl.
For sure.
And I don't understand why there is no is the favorite for roughing the passer. I still can't comprehend that. I guarantee you there's going to be a roughing the passer call on either Darnold or May because you got the shoulder injury with May being overblown. You've got the oblique injury with Darnold being overblown. They're both BS injuries. And I guarantee you there's going to be a roughing the passer call in the Super Bowl. I don't know when it's going to happen. It's probably going to be in the 4th quarter, but I think there's going to be one, and I think it's probably going to end up deciding the game.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that at all. And I would definitely bet yes, without a doubt, that there would be one.
AI ranked Jackson Smith-Njigba as the best player in the Super Bowl. I would put him at 3 behind Gonzalez and May.
Yeah.
Respectively, I would put him at 3. So
Yep.
I disagree with AI. They've got Walker at 4, Leonard Williams at 5, Diggs at 6, Witherspoon at 7, Milton Williams at 8, Darnold at 9, Carlton Davis at 10. I would swap out Darnold with more, but I agree with the rest of AI. So, I mean, Seattle.
Yeah, that about makes sense.
Seattle and Denver were the only 2 teams. Seattle, Denver, and Jacksonville were the only 3 teams to have both their offensive tackles win player of the game this year. So I do like Seattle's offensive tackles, but Darnold's had success because of the tackles and because of Walker and JSN. That's the only reason he's had as much success as he's had. And if
Indeed.
you put 2 down, you shut down the offense.
Yeah. That's it exactly. If you can shut down JSN
and Walker, you pretty much
over.
shut down their offense if you shut those 2
Yeah.
down.
Well, I mean, Walker, you just have to go up and poke him and be injured.
Yeah, it's like Charbonnet. They don't have Charbonnet either. So if you take Walker out of the game, they're not going to have. They're going to be one-dimensional. They're not going to be able to run the ball, and Darnold's going to have to carry them.
Yeah,
that's where the ghosts come into play.
Yeah, because they're going to be able to rush him whenever the hell they want to. Then and that might get ugly. Of course, that might cause a roughing the passer penalty.
Yeah, that's true.
Who knows? But
this game will be closer because here's the thing: it's going to be closer because the NFL knows they cannot have a blowout like last year's Chiefs-Eagles game with what's on the line. Also, I feel like this game. I mean, the last time we had 4 blowouts in a Super Bowl, it was from Super Bowl 26. I think it was from Super Bowl 20. It was the Super Bowls. It was the Super Bowl the Niners won, Super Bowl 24, Super Bowl the Giants. Well, Super Bowl the Giants one was close, but I know I think we had 3 blowouts in 4 years because, Super Bowls 26 through 29 were all blowouts. Super Bowl 26 Commanders, Cowboys 2 Super Bowl wins over the Bills, and then the Niners over the Chargers. Those were all blowouts. And then if you throw in Super Bowl 24, Niners Broncos, that was also a blowout. So we had 5 blowouts in 6 years. Ever since then, there's been a gap on blowouts. Yeah, the Packers blew out New England, but it wasn't as ugly as the other 4 Super Bowls in the 90s. And the Denver Green Bay was a lot closer. And I would put the Patriots up there with the Super Bowl 50 Broncos and Super Bowl 32 Broncos as probably the most disrespected team leading up to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Maybe the 2001 Patriots as well. But those would be 4 of my top 5. All right.
Definitely.
What else do we have? Stars scored on Vegas, and Vegas and Dallas are going to play in AT&T Stadium next year for the NHL Stadium Series. This year, the Stadium Series is going to be in Tampa. It's going to be Bruins Lightning at Raymond James Stadium, and they've already got a pirate theme because they're playing at the pirate ship where the Buccaneers play football. That's where the hockey game's at for the Stadium Series. I know I didn't talk about the Winter Classic, but the Winter Classic's usually an outdoor event. It was indoors this year at the Marlins Stadium because the Florida Panthers were hosting it. So there was just very little appeal. The Winter Classic should be outdoor hockey, not indoor hockey. That's been the tradition. And you broke that tradition because there's nowhere in Florida where you can play outdoor hockey due to the humidity. So you broke your own tradition. It is laughably bad, and I think the Stadium Series will be better. And then next year's Stadium Series will be at Jerry World, and Jerry World had the Monday Night Football announcement. So yeah,
Nice.
All right, but yeah. I don't want to get off topic with this hockey talk, so let's end the show here. What else do we got to add besides Senior Bowl, Super Bowl, etc. before we sign off?
Nothing, like I said. Just look out for that Quadra Ismail interview. Hopefully we get it. Got my fingers crossed.
I hope we get a Quadra Ismail interview up as well.
Yeah, for real. But
That's William Yanish,
besides that,
Ransom, and we're signing off from under the bleachers. Maybe we'll have a Super Bowl preview show next week. We'll see. And if we don't, we'll have an interview. Hopefully Ismail, but if we can't get Ismail, we'll figure something else out then. But yeah.
for real. Peace, guys.